Greetings, professors, and welcome to the orientation for the Peaceful Parenting University. Parents have a problem. They are waking up to the moral and practical arguments against the outdated technology that is forceful parenting, and realizing that though they may know that there's a better way, and that doing things the old way is no longer an option, they actually have very little idea how to go about parenting through peaceful, voluntary, principled coexistence. I have studied and lived through this difficult and scary transition. I am unique in that I have done it both ways with children separated by many years and with totally opposite parenting styles. I've done it in the old way with spankings and punishments and grounding and yelling and all of the tools that parents have used likely since the human species were cavemen. And I have, through much study, trial and error, now parented a better way. Better for my children in terms of outcomes in almost every measurable category, from happiness and success to criminality and substance abuse. My children parented with peace and empathy and principles are far less damaged, more well-rounded, more mature for their age, and better prepared for adulthood. They do not act worse. A lack of spanking and punishment did not create entitled, lazy monsters as the ignorant so often predict. In fact, they are vastly more empathetic and concerned with the effects of their behavior on others. And my relationship with them is so much stronger because it functions equally in both directions, like that of an actual friend and partner rather than that of a subordinate. Spanking shows as a strong predictor for aggression in children, increasing over time with more exposure. It raises anxiety, raises chance of delinquency, raises chance of mental health problems, and raises chance of juvenile crime. There has also been recently shown links with lower cognitive performance, lower IQ scores, and lower self-esteem. The more spanking there is, the more effect on the child is shown. Spanking physiologically changes your child's brain. The amygdala, the fight or flight and anxiety center in the brain, grows larger, while the frontal lobe, the area responsible for reasoning and processing emotion, shrinks or doesn't grow to the same size it would have otherwise. It is a short-term solution that teaches all the wrong lessons. It is the easy way out for parents that comes with long-term problems up to and including mentally handicapping your own child. The fact and science-based lesson is simple and clear. Do not for any reason spank your children. It's not punishment, it is abuse. This is not an opinion. This is as fact-based as gravity. When you are emptying your toolbox of the old methods, spanking must be the first to go, and it must go permanently. No exceptions. Spanking your children will undermine literally everything else you learn from the Peaceful Parenting University. I will regret spanking my first daughter for the rest of my life. That guilt doesn't go away. That relationship is still in need of healing. It does not work. It's harmful, and it's shameful. Infinitely more important than the pragmatic arguments from effect, based on the massive quantity of research in these areas, are the principled ones. I have successfully brought universal principles to my relationship with my children. Knowing that what I'm doing is ethically right from first principles is so drastically different from the past, I feel like a new person sometimes because of it. So, while this university is named the Peaceful Parenting University, what you will be learning here is actually principled parenting. What's the difference? Peaceful parenting describes only what we do not want. We do not want force, coercion, control, and any consent violation whatsoever. But that is nowhere near enough information to actually parent in the real world. We need to learn what we do want. What we need to learn are the principles behind moral parenting, and then how to actually implement them in real time every day of our lives. Okay, so enough selling what you've already signed up for. It's time to begin sharing the knowledge and filling your toolboxes with real, practical, principled solutions. In the beginning, I welcomed you not as students to learn under me, but as professors, I did that on purpose. Why? For several reasons. You and I are equals. We are on a journey together. I have many things that I will teach you to enable you to be a better, more principled and successful parent. You will very likely and hopefully teach me many things as well. You and I are both parents, or at least I will assume that you are at least about to become one. Or in a very rare case of maturity, you're doing your study well in advance of any tiny humans assembling themselves. There are several core principles to principled parenting, and both of us being equals on a learning journey is a great place to start. For you see, this is the exact foundation you should be building your relationship with your children on. We are equals. Equals in self-ownership, equals in needs, equals in desires, in our capacities for pain, excitement, curiosity, thoughtfulness, and a need and a demand for respect. We are both on a journey together for a short time, one that will one day likely feel far too short. Neither of us has the right to expect the other to sit there while we condescend or insult or yell. Neither of us has the right to order or demand of the other. I cannot threaten you. You cannot threaten me. And I certainly cannot grab you to get you to listen to me. You cannot hold me down or force my body into a corner or a chair if I am peaceful. And under no circumstances ever will I strike you, attempt to cause you pain or discomfort, or inflict any sort of violence upon you. To do so would be a mortal violation of your self-ownership and your consent, something I would owe you serious restitution for. For a moral rule or a principle to be valid, it must be consistent. Therefore, so too must the rules for interactions with all humans, including your children. From this moment forward, anytime you are ever curious as to whether or not you may do something to your child, take a moment and consider if you could do it to me. However, there is one important difference between you and you and your child that should have some effect on things, but it's probably not what you are expecting. It is this. You and I are here of our own volition. We are each here voluntarily because we both want to be here. We can both leave this relationship and this interaction and choose to never interact with one another again. Your child is not with you because they chose to be. Your child is not in the relationship with you voluntarily, nor do they have the ability to leave and never see or speak or hear from you again. So how does that change things? Well, imagine you created me in your home, and something about how you created me in my fully adult, conscious and sentient form left me dependent on you for survival and safety. I didn't consent to being there, couldn't leave or disassociate from you. My consent was just not part of the equation. Would my lack of agency and consent in that relationship with you leave you more morally culpable for me, my environment, and the things that happened to me, or less? Well, we own the effects of our actions. So it's plain to see that if we take actions which create a situation in which someone is non-consensually dependent on us, that we own or are responsible for that situation in its entirety, its outcomes, and any injured parties that result from it. What am I saying? Well, I'm establishing the moral responsibility and culpability in your relationship with your children in the correct place. That is to say, solely with you. As your children age and develop, they will eventually bear the moral burden of their own actions, of course. But even then, who they are, how they think and reason, will still be largely your fault, as will the results of their decisions. The first several years of their lives are solely dictated by you and your choices. Who and what they are exposed to, what concepts are introduced, what is good and evil, what is not acceptable, how they're supposed to handle it when someone does something unacceptable to them or their property, what to do in a dispute, what to eat, what to wear, how to process fear, excitement, grief, disappointment, sorrow, anger, and how to react to literally everything around them. Everything. All of it is your decision to make. Even indecision and laziness is still a decision that affects everything about who they are. You and the genes that you gave them are the two things exclusively that will create them. If you choose to send them to public daycare or public schools, or allow them to pick up bad stuff from unmonitored use of your internet connection, for example, and they pick up bad behaviors, bad ideas, bad lessons, bully, get bullied, get peer pressured, get mentally or emotionally stressed out or damaged by any of those things, those were still your decisions to make, and you still own the effects of those decisions. So when your kid practices the bad behaviors he learned as a result of your decision to send him to be around the effects of the bad decisions of other parents, bad parenting choices, that bad behavior is your fault, not theirs. And of course, any notion of punishing them for the effects of your decisions is kind of absurd. Young kids are like desiccated sponges. They absorb and assimilate anything and everything around them and don't begin to be able to mentally judge and critically filter most of it until at least 6 to 8 years old. Around that time is when most of their personality and their sense of morality and relationships and right and wrong and who they are begins to solidify. So you should be most protective and cautious about what they are exposed to during those early years. You are literally forming a person and are solely responsible for that which you create. I've spent so much time on this point because it will apply to just about every interaction you have with your child. When they do something good, it's because you influenced them to. And when they do something wrong, it is because you influenced them to. This simple realization should eliminate just about all notions of punishment from your toolbox. Okay, the horse is dead. I'm moving on. The last principle I'll mention for now is self-ownership. You own yourself. I own myself. Our children own themselves. Well, what does that mean? Well, first we have to then ask, what is ownership? Ownership is the right to exclude others from the use of a thing. Let me say that again, because this is fundamental. Ownership is the right to exclude others from the use of a thing. So self-ownership is the right to exclude others from the use of yourself. The self-owner has full and complete dominion and agency over the property that is their self, their body. We will dive into this in more depth in the coming courses, but for now, suffice it to say that the way you awaken your children's self-ownership is by respecting it. Full stop, all the time. Their consent, just like your consent, must be held inviolate and sacrosanct at all times and all places. I created this university with a specific method in mind, and most of its content is going to follow that method. This university does not exist to realign your chakras. This university does not exist to make you feel good without requiring the virtue and work needed to create that happiness. When you enter this university, you are coming to learn principles and then to learn how to actually apply those principles in everyday life through the challenges that every parent faces with every child. When you do well, you will be applauded, and when you fail, you will be held to account and coached on ways to handle it better next time. We have some really cool things in the pipeline, including a long list of content for you. But aside from those, we have 2 additional resources you should be aware of. The first is our monthly staff meetings, where all of us professors meet to hang out and discuss our successes, pass around new ideas and tools we discover along the way, and then to ask each other for help when we encounter problems and situations we are missing the tool for. Second, we provide one-on-one consultations for those that would like specific, targeted assistance, for those that would like more privacy to discuss the areas they could use assistance with, or for those that prefer a direct one-on-one discussion to work through things together. Check the website for information on how you can join in these meetings or schedule your one-on-one consultation. All right, that is it for orientation. You are creating the humans that will one day run the world and determine the future. You are on a hero's journey. Whether or not you try or are even aware of it, for the better or the worse, you will change the world using the most powerful method of activism available to do so: parenting. Our job here at the university is to help each other make that change one of epic proportions, one that will revolutionize the world and all human interaction towards peace and voluntarism, where coercion ceases to exist and all relationships are voluntary. Thank you, professors, and welcome to the Peaceful Parenting University.